Hey, what's up everybody? I'm just doing a quick video on my jazz records. I don't have a lot actually on vinyl, but I thought I'd do a quick flip vid of what's in my collection. You'll notice actually about over half this crate is actually of jazz fusion style. That's because I sort of got into collecting jazz through disco and funk. So a lot of jazz, funk, disco fusion in the 70s. Some jazz rock fusion as well. But here we go. We'll take a look. So straight up, these first three records are really my favorite jazz records of all time. I listen to all the time. This is a record I got in New York at Academy for $5. Really cool classic jazz sound. Some of the old bebop stuff. Dexter Gordon, that's a reish. This J.J. Johnson I got for $2, I think in Chicago one time. And I got some Ramsey Lewis, I think he's a piano player, as far as I remember. The Groover, this is sort of 60s era. Sonny Rollins getting to some like hard bop stuff now. This is some 80s, I think this might even be a Canadian jazz, it's called Fat. Fat Plays For You. And it's on Amok Records out of Toronto. So it's a cool jazz trio. I get some Sun Ra. It's a reissue. It's like a single. Now we're into... So the bulk of the rest of the selection here is sort of 70s jazz funk fusion. A lot of fusion jazz. Again, like CTI label, George Benson stuff, Herbie Hancock. You'll see. More some Ramsey Lewis in the 70s. Herbie. Roy Ayers. Freddie Hubbard. It's on that CTI label. So again, a lot of stuff on CTI. And the other sub label I think is called Kudu. So if you're into that kind of style of 70s jazz fusion, funk fusion, that's definitely a label you want to pick up. Cecil Taylor, I think it is. CTI. Start collecting a lot of this 70s jazz for samples as well. Just checking out samples and things. There's a soundtrack by Herbie. About Bird, I think. Really cool album covers too. These albums. That was a Stanley Turrentine, more Stanley Turrentine. George Benson, Bad Benson. Grover Washington Jr. Some Donald Byrd, Street Lady. That might be 60s actually. Herbie, Thrust, Sunlight. This is the one that has all the keyboards on the back. It doesn't have Rocket on this, but I feel like that was coming pretty soon. This is still in the 70s, but Rocket's more of an 80s Herbie. There's another version of that Thrust album. Stanley Clarke, bass player, I guess. He does more sort of rock, jazz fusion. George Duke. George Benson, of course, the legend. Stanley Turrentine with Ron Carter, George Benson, and Freddie Hubbard. CTI Records. George Benson doing Beatles covers. The Other Side of Abbey Road. Cool. Good album. Now you got Headhunters from Herbie. This was sampled on Schoolie D record, of course. And many other hip-hop records. George Benson Breezin'. I pretty much can sell 3-4 copies of that a year in my shop easily. It is a classic album. This is also quite classic by George Benson. This is some Canadian 80s jazz, Condition, Red Hot and Blue, sort of indie stuff. Again on that Amok label, I think. They did a cool cover of Fever. Paul Desmond, Summertime. Stanley Clarke. Idris Muhammad, Power of Soul. Again, that's on that that Kudu sub-label of CTI, 70s. Hank Crawford, Wes Montgomery. And another soundtrack done by the man Herbie Hancock, Death Wish, Charles Bronson. This one's a little bit colored in. It looks like the green is not supposed to be there, but $15. It's a great soundtrack. Got it used. So that's a little look through my jazz collection and a crate. Like I said, I don't have a lot, but I'm looking to buy more of the older classic bebop, hard bop style, some free jazz. That's kind of where my head's at these days. Not so much in the 70s fusion stuff, but cool to have it either way. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.